And on this week's edition of the BLAST Newscast,
Daylight Savings Time has officially begun here in Indiana. November the 4th was the day where we had to set our clocks back 1 hour. But why do places like Indiana need Daylight Savings Time? I'm Trenton Byers, and we'll have that story coming up.
Frigid, cold temperatures and beautiful skies are in the air, plus the return of mild temperatures for the end of the week. I'm Levi Bennington, and I'll have further details on this week's weather forecast.
Those stories and a whole lot more can be seen on this week's edition of the BLAST Newscast.
For the week of October 30th, 2012.
and now, coming to you live from our studios in Sharpsville, Indiana, Katie Folgenhauer and Jacob Pyle.
Thank you, Chris Henry. Hello, welcome to the BLAST Newscast. I'm Katie Felgenhauer.
And I'm Jacob Pyle. Welcome to the beginning of Daylight Savings Time. On November the 4th, you were reminded to set your clocks back 1 hour in order to observe Daylight Savings Time. But the question is, what is Daylight Savings Time anyway?
Some people like it because the days are longer. Other people think that Daylight Savings Time is a waste of time in itself. So the BLAST Newscast asks the question, why do we need Daylight Savings Time? And here to give us the answer to that very important question is BLAST Newscast reporter Trenton Byers.
Thanks, Katie. November the 4th marked the beginning of a little something known as Daylight Savings Time. But why do we need it? Before we answer that question, let's look back on how Daylight Savings Time began. A household name. Although not punctual in the modern sense, but in ancient civilizations adjusted daily schedules to the sun more flexibly hours regardless of day length. Benjamin Franklin published a letter suggesting that Parisians economize on candles by rising earlier to use morning sunlight. Although modern daylight savings time was first proposed by George Vernon Hudson, whose shift work job gave him leisure time to collect insects and led him to value after hours daylight. And that's how daylight savings time first hour. And now the answer to our question, why do we need daylight savings time? Well, Ben Franklin stated in a 1784 essay that adjusting the clocks in the spring could be a good way to save on candles. But is it really economical today to adjust our clocks? No, not really. However, it's been said that daylight savings time trimming electricity usage by 1%. Another study states that the increase in daylight during the spring led to a roughly 10% drop in vehicular crashes. So there are good things to having such things as daylight savings time. We will be able to find more good uses for this feature in years to come. Let's all hope that we can. For BLAST Newscast, I'm Trenton Byers.
Thanks, Trenton, for that report. A little known interesting fact, in the early 70s, a move known as the Permanent Daylight Savings Time is sometimes advocated. However, many countries around the world remain unconvinced of its benefits. And now, with a look at our headlines that are making news today, is BLAST Newscast headline reporter J.R. Clifton.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, everyone. Here's our headlines for this week. On November 17th, the 210 will be taking place at Team Blast from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. It'll cost $5 for admission. Come hear some awesome bands and invite your friends. On December 18th, BLAST Newscast is having its first annual BLAST Newscast Christmas Talent Extravaganza. And we are now booking special guests to appear on this special program. The only thing we ask is if you are singing, the song you are singing must have something to do with Christmas, and it must glorify God in some way. If you have a talent that you'd like to share with us, and you're not afraid to do it in front of a camera, let Jacob Pyle know. Come help us out as we present our very first BLAST Newscast Christmas Talent Extravaganza. On December 31st, we will have our all-night New Year's Eve lock-in. It runs from 8 in the evening to 8 in the morning. $20 covers 2 bands, Cosmic Bowling, Papa John's Pizza, and a whole lot more. Invite your friends, get plenty of sleep beforehand, and have fun at this year's all-night New Year's Eve lock-in. On April 5th, Team Blast will be leaving for Muncie, Indiana for Acquire the Fire 2013. The cost is $45. We'll be leaving on the 5th after school, and we'll be there part of that Friday and all day Saturday. Spots will be limited, so if interested, talk to Kendra or Desi because it will be first come, first serve. And finally, spots are filling up quick for next year's Big Stuff Camp in Panama City Beach, Florida. Put in your $50 deposit to secure your spot. Once your deposit is put in, the $50 will go off your church camp total. We only have 3 spots left. Once the 3 spots have been taken, we won't be able to fit any more. So put your money in right away and get ready to do some fundraisers for Big Stuff Church Camp. Those are our headlines for this week. I'll be back at the end of the newscast for a preview of what you will see on next week's edition. But for now, I'm J.R. Clifton.
Thank you, JR. And now it's time for our weather with our rain or shine weatherman, Levi Bennington.
Thank you, Jacob. Hello, everybody. Temperatures are really cold today as everyone casted their votes in for this presidential election. The skies were beautiful with no rain in sight, but things are going to change later on. So my forecast for tonight calls for a chance of showers with a low of 35 degrees. Tomorrow, expect partly cloudy skies with a high of 48 degrees. Expect beautiful weather for the rest of the week with a return of mild-like temperatures by the end of this week. Hope you have a safe and great election day, and may the best candidate win. I'm Levi Bennington, and that's today's weather.
Thank you, Levi. And now here's Teen Blast's own Jacob Pyle.
What did you think I would do at this moment? When you're standing before me with tears in your eyes, trying to tell me that you have found you another, and you just don't love me no more. What did you think I would say at this moment, when I'm faced with the knowledge that you just don't love me? Did you think I would push you or say things to hurt you? But you just don't love me. Did you think I could ever raise my hands to you? Oh, come on, How could I hurt you, darling? I love you, and you know I never knew. Whoa, what did you think I would give at this moment? If you stay, I subtract 20 years from my life. I brought down all my knees. I kiss the ground that you walked on. If I could just hold you again. Whoa, I fall down on my knees, and I kiss the ground that you walk on. If I could just again. Whoa, if I could just hold you again. Thank you very much. Knock, knock. Who's there? Isaac. Isaac who? Exactly who do you think this is? Exactly who do you think this is?
Hey, looking for something to do on a weekday afternoon? Come up and join us for Teen Blast. Our address is 210 South Main Street here in Sharpsville, Indiana, 46068. Anyone 6th grade or older is welcome. We're open after school on Mondays and Wednesdays through Friday from 3 to 6, and Tuesdays from 3 to 9, with Tuesday service from 6:30 to 8:30. Come join us, won't you?
And now with a look at what you'll be seeing on next week's newscast is BLAST Newscast headline reporter J.R. Clifton.
Thanks, Katie. On next week's edition of the BLAST Newscast, we are going to have a skit featuring some kids on this game show where they just show how crazy it is to place too much value in worldly things. So take a trip down the Chapel Zone as the BLAST Newscast presents What's It Worth to You? That's coming up on next week's edition of the BLAST Newscast. I'm J.R. Clifton. We'll see you there.
Thank you, JR. And with that, that'll be it for this week. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Katie Felgenhauer.
And I'm Jacob Pyle. Until next week, good night, and God bless my friends.
This is Chris Henry speaking. The BLAST Newscast has been pre-recorded for future airing.